The new isolationism, how Trump is destroying trade deals and America's global role. It began with a promise, America first. A rallying cry meant to restore national pride, economic dominance, and sovereignty. But behind the slogan, a new era was quietly unfolding, one not of strength, but of retreat. Donald Trump's foreign policy, wrapped in protectionist rhetoric and brash unilateralism, has systematically dismantled decades of diplomatic and economic cooperation. Now the very foundations of the global order the United States once built are crumbling, and America is watching its influence bleed out, not to its allies, but to its rivals. If you're watching this, don't just listen, comment below. Do you believe Trump's strategy made America stronger, or did it isolate the nation from a rapidly shifting world? Hit like, subscribe, and join the debate, because this story isn't just about politics, it's about power, and who gets to wield it in the 21st century. When Trump took office in 2017, one of his first acts was to withdraw the United States from the Trans-Pacific Partnership, TPP, a massive trade deal involving 12 countries across the Asia-Pacific region. Crafted over years of negotiation, the TPP was designed to solidify American economic leadership in the region and counter China's growing influence. Trump called it a terrible deal, but in walking away, he handed Beijing an open field. Countries that once looked to Washington for trade leadership began turning toward China, whose Belt and Road Initiative and regional trade pacts like RCEP filled the void. But the TPP wasn't an isolated incident. Trump's administration waged a full-scale war against multilateralism. The United States pulled out of the Paris Climate Agreement, abandoned UNESCO, and withdrew from the World Health Organization in the middle of a global pandemic. On the trade front, Trump imposed tariffs on longtime allies like Canada, Mexico, and the European Union, triggering retaliatory measures that hurt American exporters, especially farmers and manufacturers. Perhaps the most devastating blow was to the World Trade Organization, WTO. Rather than work to reform the body from within, the Trump administration crippled it by blocking appointments to its appellate court, effectively paralyzing its dispute resolution system. Without a functioning WTO, international trade became a chaotic patchwork of power plays and retaliations, leaving smaller economies vulnerable and the rule of law on life support. But Trump wasn't just fighting the global system, he was also isolating the US from its own allies. NATO allies were openly insulted. Trade deals like NAFTA were renegotiated under hostile terms, rebranded as the USMCA with little structural difference but a lot more friction. And in Asia, key partners like Japan and South Korea began hedging their bets, deepening ties with China even as they kept one wary eye on Washington. While America stepped back, others stepped up. Nowhere is this more evident than in the rise of the BRICS bloc: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. What began as a loosely defined economic group has, in recent years, evolved into a serious geopolitical alternative to the G7. The BRICS nations have launched their own development bank, proposed alternative reserve currencies, and begun advocating for a multipolar world order free from US dominance. Trump's actions, far from intimidating these nations, have emboldened them. China, in particular, has seized the moment. With the US entangled in trade wars and diplomatic spats, Beijing has accelerated its global strategy, striking infrastructure deals across Latin America, Africa, and Asia. Its influence now stretches into parts of Europe, once firmly aligned with Washington. India, though historically a balancing power, has found new space to maneuver between East and West, often siding with BRICS partners on global issues. Even Brazil, under Lula da Silva's return to power, has doubled down on a South-South diplomacy model that rejects Washington's unilateralism. The economic consequences for the United States are becoming increasingly clear. American exporters lost billions during the tariff wars. Consumer prices rose as imported goods became more expensive. Manufacturing jobs, despite promises of resurgence, remain stagnant or move to other countries not targeted by tariffs. Meanwhile, the dollar supremacy in global trade is slowly being challenged by currency agreements among BRICS members, particularly the push for trade settlements in yuan, rupees, or local currencies. Trump's isolationism didn't just fracture alliances, it fractured trust. Leaders who once saw the United States as a reliable partner now fear its volatility. Allies in Europe speak openly about the need for strategic autonomy. In Asia, defense pacts are being quietly revised. Even in the Americas, where US influence once reigned unquestioned, China now holds considerable sway. Trump's legacy is not just a more divided world, but a world where America no longer leads by default. And perhaps that was always the danger of America first. In trying to dominate, the United States forgot how to lead. True leadership requires cooperation, vision, and constancy, not threats, tariffs, and tweets. As the BRICS bloc grows stronger and the global order shifts, Washington finds itself increasingly alone, no longer at the center of the conversation but watching from the sidelines. So what now? The next chapter will depend on whether future U.S. administrations can repair the damage. Rejoining international frameworks, re-establishing trust with allies, and reimagining global leadership in a more multipolar world will be essential. But the clock is ticking. Every step back taken by the United States is a step forward for China, India, and other emerging powers. The longer America clings to a vision of the past, one in which it ruled unquestioned, the faster it will lose its grip on the future. If you made it this far, tell us what you think. Has Trump's strategy left the U.S. stronger or weaker? Are BRICS the new face of global leadership, or just a temporary reaction to American arrogance? Drop a comment, hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives like this one. Because in the end, global power isn't just about weapons or borders, it's about relationships, trust, and the willingness to build something bigger than yourself. And right now, America is building walls, while others are building bridges.